Good evening, students and my fellow friends. So, this session we are going to talk about the preparation strategy for the programming language, especially the C, for the GATE examination. All right. So, in this session, I am going to talk about what are the different topics and in which sequence you should prepare the topics. Out of those, what are the important ones? And how to solve a question in the GATE paper if the program is given, what sequence we have to follow, the general steps to answer any programming question in the exam, and few frequently asked questions by the students. All right. So let's get started. So first of all, let me talk about the topics in the programming language. Many students keep on asking, in which sequence the topic should be learned. So here is the sequence of the topics. First of all, you should learn before actually starting with the any concept of C programming, even writing the basic program of Hello World, you should first understand the memory organization for a program. Now what it means, you should first understand ultimately the operating system is going to execute your program, right? So as a programmer, first you should know if you write a statement int A, so you should know upfront as a programmer this statement, how the memory is going to be allocated by the operating system, when it is going to be allocated, when it is going to be destroyed, what is the scope of that memory. All right, which section of the process which this variable int A will reside. So all these questions, all these things you should know upfront. Then I say that you have the clear understanding of what you are writing as a programmer, right? So once you have that basic understanding of memory for the program under execution by the operating system, after learning that, as a part of first topic of the C is nothing but the data types and the declaration of the variables. What are the different data types in C? For example, int, float, character, isn't it? With the help of modifiers, we can declare the unsigned int, long int. So those type of data types, derived data types, such as structure, union, arrays. All right. So all these things first you should learn before touching any of the concepts. And how to declare the different types of variable, how to declare the global variables, how to declare the static variables, how to allocate the memory dynamically. All right. So the declaration of the variables and the data types you should learn. I can term this topic as the basics of C programming or the basics. Then the concept of the function comes. In the functions, you have to learn the what are the functions, what are the ways we write the functions, all right, how the parameters are passed to the functions, what is mean by the return type, how the return value is returned to the caller of the function. So basics of the functions you should learn. Now many students think that these two topics are very easy. We have already learned that, all right. As in your first or second semester in your college, you must have learned these topics. But my suggestion is, if you are learning the entire C programming language for the GATE, learn it one more time. Give your time for revision and then move to the advanced topics like pointers and recursion. Until and unless your basic is clear, it is very hard to understand those topics. It becomes difficult to solve those numericals or the programs. After function, what are the different operators in C? For example, there are different categories: arithmetic operators, plus minus division, multiplication, mod, isn't it? The other type of relational operators to compare the two values greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, etc. Right? We have the bitwise operators, very important for the gate. Questions have been asked in the previous gate paper on the bitwise operators. Okay. So my suggestion is, to learn the bitwise operator, you should actually write the program and try to execute and get the output. Just by writing on the paper, instead of that, if you actually type it somewhere in the, in some text editor and compile it and see the output, you can remember that concept in a better way, okay, rather than just writing on the paper. So the biggest advantage of this programming language subject out of all the subjects in GATE or syllabus is for this subject you can do the practicals for all the concepts basically at home only. You do not need any expert tools or expertise or any other tools or lab for doing that. Everyone can write the program in Visual Studio. There are many online C compilers now where you can try and execute the program. So in the operators, my suggestion is you try the programs, especially for the increment and decrement operators. Okay, I'll take one of the example of increment and decrement. Though this concept looks very simple, that increment increments the value of a variable, decrement decrements value by 1, but there are few tricks you should try around this concept. Okay, so basically operators in C we have to learn. Then coming to the control statements. Under the control statements, your if-else statement, if-else block, loops, while loop, do while loop, for loop, isn't it? And how to control the flow of execution, how to jump from this one step or one line to another line forcefully. Those are the jump statements. Break statement, continue statement, go to functionality is there in the C programming, isn't it? So this is the sequence in which the sequence is quite important. That's why I'm stressing here. Do not directly go and learn these control statements. First, you should learn all these things. All right. Now, after the control statements, I'm continuing to the next slide here. After the control statements, we should learn the pointers. And pointers is one of the very important topic, not only for the GATE, but many competitive exams, and especially for the interviews and placement preparation. All right, pointers. Now, under pointers, we have many topics. Pointer to basic data type, pointer to structure, array of structure pointers, pointer to function, isn't it? Pointer to string, one of the very important concept. All right. So we will take one of the other session to discuss all the important concepts in C. Here I am going to stress on the preparation, overall preparation strategy for the C. All right. Now after pointers come to the parameter passing techniques. Why after the pointer? Because parameter passing technique depends on, one of the parameter passing technique depends on the pointer concept, which we call it as a call by reference. So that's why before this you should learn the pointers. So call by value and call by reference are the two topics under this topic. Okay. Now again, the important topic here is the recursion. As we know, recursion is nothing but the function calling itself, isn't it? So recursion, the theory is very less in this topic, but to practice it, you should try different examples. You should actually solve and write different examples. I'll talk about recursion more in the coming slides. All right. Now the last two topics are the storage classes. As we know, we have the 4 storage classes: auto, register, static, and external storage class. So those topics we should learn later. And at the last, you can learn the static and dynamic scoping rules. See, these two topics are actually the general topics, especially this one, the last one is general topic. The meaning of the general is this is applicable for every programming language, not only C, but other programming languages as well. All right. So, overall, this is the sequence. I hope you have noted down the sequence. Now, let us look at out of these all topics or overall C programming, how much is the weightage for the gate. Now, I have collected the data of last 5 years. This year 2022, the programming language was asked for 5 marks. You can see the number of marks here. Surprisingly, in 2019, we have it for 10 marks. So, if I take the average of these all for the last 5 years, I get the average as nearly 5 to 6 nearly. Okay. So, do not think that this only out of 100 marks it is 5 to 6 marks. The reason is, if you do not know the programming language very well, it is very difficult to solve the examples or write the programs or understand the topics of data structure and algorithms. Because these two subjects, data structure and algorithms, are purely dependent on the basic concepts of C only, all these topics. All right. So, before you touch DS and algo, you must learn the C programming very well. All right. Now, what are the most important topics out of these all are these two, pointers and the recursion. As I said, pointers and recursion. Why important? From the gate perspective, it carries nearly 80% of the weightage, nearly 80%. So, in PL, the 80% weightage is given to these two topics. If you take any question paper from the last 10 years gate paper, you will find questions on pointers and recursion only. Most of the questions you will see. And as I said, the recursion topic is very small. I mean, theoretically it is very small, but as many problems you solve on the recursion, all right, the concept will get clear and clear. In the exam, the trickiest part in the recursion is, given a program, they will ask something like, how many number of function calls or what is the output of this program. Now, to solve such type of question, recursion problems usually take longer time to solve. They are time consuming problems, time consuming programs. That's why practice is the key, for the recursion. Our target should be the recursion problem must be solved within maximum 3 to 5 minutes, not more than 4 to 5 minutes. That is the maximum I can say. Even that is bigger, but I can say that. All right. Because they are time consuming. They trap your time basically in the exam. So the pattern of the exam is like how much in less time you solve these questions. All right. So if you are not confident about that, it will take more I know this problem statement how to solve, but it may take more time. You can solve these questions at end also. Okay. Pointers, as I said, all the concepts in the pointer are very important. Okay. No, I cannot tell one of the, suppose if you ask me array is important or structure is important, both are equally important. All the topics in pointers are equally important. All right. Okay. So, let's see some of the preparation tips for the programming language. The first tip I would say is solve the previous year questions only after clearing all the basic concepts. Especially whichever course you have taken, online or offline teaching, complete the subject, prepare your own notes, proper notes, Once the basics are clear, then go for all the previous question papers. Otherwise, what will happen? You will think that I know the C programming, I will directly practice the questions. Instead of that, first you clear all the basics once again and go for the questions, because solving only the questions can, you may skip some of the important topics also. That may happen. So once all the doubts are cleared, if you have any doubts, whatever source you asked the doubts, get it clear, try yourself, do some R&D on your problem statement if you are stuck. All right? Do not leave the question till you get the proper explanation, till you satisfy yourself that I have understood the explanation, I have understood this question. Then only move to the next question. It may take hour to understand one question, that is fine. Sometime it may take. But it is always helpful for the next question, remember. Now, my suggestion is, for any C programming question that is given, try to draw the memory block diagram whenever necessary. Even for the recursion on the pointer mostly, I would suggest you draw the memory block diagram. What is mean by memory block diagram here is, suppose there are 3 functions given and you have been asked what is the output of this program, main function, function 1 and function 2. So my suggestion is, as you execute the function, apply all the concept of memory allocation and deallocation. All right. And I'll give the steps also, in which sequence you should solve this question, such type of questions. All right. Now, show the memory allocated for A in some box, B, your pointer pointing to variable, array, all right, structure memory. So once you have the clear representation of the memory, it becomes very easy to execute the program line by line. By directly executing the program, sometimes we lose the track of the variables at its addresses and all. So to avoid that, upfront, whenever necessary, allocate the memory blocks and then execute the program. And as I said, do not underestimate any topic. If the concept or the topic looks very easy to you, let me tell you one of the example of this, and you will see the topic is easy, but sometimes the questions are tricky. Can you tell me the answer of this question? I can give you hardly 1 minute to solve. For example, here there is a variable x. Initial value is 15. And the question asked is what is printed. Now in this question, the increment operator is used. Increment, 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 increment. Now we know that by doing the plus plus, the value of the variable gets incremented. Right? So can anyone tell me what is the answer for this one? The concept is very easy. All right. So you can put your answer in the comment box. Okay. So let me explain. You can also try meanwhile and tally your answer with my answer. How to tackle such questions in the gate. Now first thing about this question is, the output of this program is compiler dependent. If you execute this program using C compiler, some C compiler, suppose Turbo C, versus if you execute with the other C compiler, suppose genome C compiler, GCC, you may get different output. You may, I am saying you may, or you may get the same also. The thing is this program's output depends on the compiler, but for the gate how we should answer this? By default, you see, by default, the parameters are passed, the parameters are passed from right to left. This is the by default behavior of the C compiler you have to follow. What it means that out of these 5 parameters, you see there are 5 parameters to the printf, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th parameter is the string. Alright, so out of these 5 parameters, first this parameter is passed, then this is passed. So in this direction, the parameters are passed as the argument values. That's why first we are going to evaluate this expression. Many students I have seen, almost whenever I ask the question in the classroom or while teaching, almost 99% student gives the wrong answer because they have the half knowledge that increment, we know that increment just make it 15 to 16 or so, but one thing is they miss is parameter passing from right to left. I know you know that it increments by 1. So x plus plus means first use the value of x and then increment it. Next statement, first increment it and then use it. Next, first use it and then increment it. And then next one, first increment it and then use it, alright, and then the string is passed. So how many times we have incremented C? 1, 2, 3, 4 times incrementation, that is fine. So the output of the program is 19, 17, 17 and 15. Alright, so this is the way to my motive is not here to teach you this. My motive is do not underestimate any topic. Even if it is look simple to you, or if you think that I know this topic, there is always one thing that you may not know. That is what we have to learn, right? Correct. I think one of my student has given the right answer. Good. Now, as I said, I am going to tell you the general steps to tackle any question in the exam. C programming. Given a program, for example, what is the output, how many function calls, etc. Such type of programs. General step to analyze the programs given in the exam. First step you have to do is allocate the memory for the global variables. I am very talking precisely here, I mean step by step execution of the program or how to solve it. First thing, allocate the memory for all the global variables if there are any global variables. Second step, all the static variables. Allocate the memory for all the, so actually show the boxes. These are my static variables in the program. These are the dummy addresses of the variables. And along with the static variables, also the constant strings. The constant strings. So first thing first, when your program is given, before you start the execution of main function, do these 3 steps. Global variable, static variable memory allocation and constant strings memory allocation. And after you show it on your rough paper, then start the execution of the main function, as the program always starts from the main, isn't it? Next, if the problem has the recursion, try to draw the tree, okay. Try to draw the tree. Now you must have learned in the recursion there are two ways of solving it. Either you can draw the tree of the function calls, or you can solve it by block diagram of the runtime stack. So whenever it is a question of recursion, these are the two ways of tackling that question. Now one suggestion I can give you, whenever there is a variable such as n, in terms of n, the question is asked in terms of n, and the options has n factorial, n plus 1 factorial, something in terms of n, then I would suggest take some test value or dummy value or sample value of the n. For example, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3, n is equal to 4, and what is the output? N is equal to 5, what is the output? And that then try to generalize your answer. Alright. So such questions have been asked, that's what I am telling you. Next is the, if any parameter passing by value or by reference in your program, if the parameters are passed either by value or the reference, then clearly show the memory allocated for parameters as well. Because many times it get confusion which variable we are changing, the caller and the callee. Callee means the function which is being called. Clearly show these are the parameters, these are the values passed. Okay. So as I said, clearly show the allocation of memory for the parameters also. Do not skip the parameters, if any. Alright, so these are the general steps. I will continue one more step. Now, if there are any pointers in the program, then do not forget to take some dummy addresses for the variables, because all the pointer variables are nothing but going to hold someone's address, some other variable's address or some address. That is why take the dummy addresses whenever possible, take the dummy addresses 500, 200, 10, 50, you can take any. So by taking the dummy addresses, the visualization of the memory becomes very clear, and the pointer, especially the pointer, many students get confused or find it difficult, but I say that it is not rocket science, it is not that difficult. The only thing student or many programmer miss is visualization of the memory. Alright. So if the array is declared, then clearly show this is address 50, 54, 50, 58, etc. So try to show the addresses and then start your analysis of the program. Alright. Now, always keep in mind to allocate and deallocate. I talked about allocation, but I want to now talk about the deallocation of the memory as you execute. Alright. So always keep in mind, if you are allocating the memory, then you have to deallocate at some point also, because the questions can be framed like dangling pointer and memory leak. Such topics are dependent on these concepts, the deallocation of memory, even especially the dangling pointer. As you have learned, whenever the function returns to the caller, the memory for local variable is deallocated. Alright. So try to do this as you solve the program and then execute it line by line. Alright. So by doing this, you train your mind. So I am not saying that you have to do this in exam also. You have to spend the time in exam also. I am saying that prepare your mind in such a way that during practice now, that block diagram or the entire program should be created in your mind first. That training we have to give to your mind, so that we can be correct, we can visualize in less time in exam. Now, let me talk about the frequently asked questions by the students. The first question is, when should I start the subject programming language? So for this, I have tried to explain in this manner. You see, this is the sequence of the subjects you should prepare in this sequence. Dependency diagram, I would say. So first of all, before learning these subjects, start with the programming language. Usually, if you follow this, you will not face problems later. Especially, as I said, the data structure and the algorithm, before that you start the programming language. So as a technical subject, apart from mathematics, I am saying engineering mathematics you can do anytime, discrete mathematics you can do anytime, but data structure, algorithm, POC, CD, COA and OS, before learning all these, first make all the concepts of PL very clear. Go for the data structure, algorithms. After algorithm, you can take two paths for preparation, or you can do parallel preparation then. After algorithm, you can start with TOC. And compiler design depends on the TOC. So follow this sequence. And after algorithm, you can also start with COA. After algo, you can also start with the operating system. Alright, this is my suggestion to you guys. Now why I have written this PL again here, remember, as I said, ultimately your program is going to be executed by the operating system and the CPU. The hardware, the CPU. Ultimately when you say int A, for example int A is equal to 10, such statement you write. Now such statement is ultimately converted into instructions. Now in the COA you will learn the type of instructions, 0 address instruction, 1 address instruction, what happens when they are loaded in memory, what are the cycles of execution of the CPU, isn't it? Fetch, decode, execute, whatever, isn't it? So, and who is going to control this is the operating system. Memory allocation is done by the operating system only for the program. So my suggestion is, once you learn the programming language first, after learning these CO and OS, again just revise the PL. Revise your PL notes. Now at that time, you will get more clarity on whatever you have learned earlier. You can just imagine, if I write this statement, now it is converted into instructions. These instructions are loaded in memory by the OS in the code section of the process. Then the CPU is initialized with the program, the first address instruction, and then CPU starts the cycle, fetch, decode, execute, or fetch the operands and then execute. Whatever be the cycles you will learn in COA, isn't it? So your entire, from the programmer perspective, it is not just about writing the C program, it is about understanding this part also, how it is executed. Why I am stressing that? Because once you understand, then you can write the better programs. Nowadays, efficiency of the program is very important, isn't it? Time complexity is very important, algorithms. So that's why I am saying, once you understand all this, again touch base on the PL. Alright. Now the second question is, frequently asked question is, which question bank is sufficient for PL practice? programming language practice. Now my suggestion is, first, whatever the questions solved in the classroom, then the previous year questions, all right, previous year questions, and then the ACE booklet, bit and bytes. In my opinion, this much material, I mean, this set of question banks are sufficient for understanding what is actually asked in GATE, what is the pattern of the question. Now what will actually ask in the GATE, no one can guarantee, I mean, no one can predict that, but the pattern of the question you have to understand. All the pattern of the questions will be covered by these 3 question banks. Now, after that, it is your choice which of the question bank you should take for more and more practice and practice. I will give few links also, okay, where you can practice the programming language and data structure questions, even the algorithm questions. All right. So follow this sequence. When I say previous year question, try to solve all the questions from previous 20 years, at least 20 years I am saying, okay, because before 20 years, the pattern of question was quite different. Nowadays the pattern of question is different, but you can always refer the older questions also, all right. But more and more you stretch on the latest questions. Guys, you have to understand the pattern of the questions. Otherwise, C programming you can learn with the operating system, or take any subject, you can learn from the reference book, and assuming that you know everything and go to the exam directly. But you do not know the pattern of the questions. Your concepts are clear, but you are not able to solve the question, numerical. So that's what we have to learn, guys. All right. Now, many students also say, sir, I am having the difficulty, I am not from the computer science background, I am from the mechanical background, I am from the electronics background, I am from the electrical, because many streams allow, other stream students are allowed to write the CS GATE paper, isn't it? So, I am having difficulty in solving the questions, what should I do? Many students face this problem. I have completed the entire course, I have seen all the videos, but still I am not able to solve the questions, some of the questions. All right. What I can say, if you are facing the difficulty, means you have not given the enough time for the basic. Give enough time to practice the basics. Basic concepts. Especially for the programming language, I would suggest small programs you take baby steps. Small programs you start with, and actually you can execute those small programs. Start execution of those small programs. If you are not getting confidence, that means this is lacking. This you are lacking in. So take a for example, pointer to string. Whatever be the question, you take a baby steps. You take a small program, try to execute it. Try to see the memory also. All right. So take the baby steps. From smaller program, you will learn small things, and then only you can solve the bigger questions. Directly do not jump for the bigger questions. So if you are facing the problem, recap the basics. That is the only way of getting over it. All right. So as a last point, last few points, as I have already told you in the sequence diagram of my, the subjects, the precedence diagram of subjects, revise entire PL concepts again after learning OS and COA. You do that and you will find that your knowledge has at one level up after revising, after learning OS and COA. If you will revise again PL, you will understand, I mean, you yourself will come to know that I have the better understanding now. All right. Now, this is the one of the questions many students also ask. That's why I'm taking it, not related to directly GATE, but PL only. For placements, some of our students join the classes for placement preparation also, interview preparation also, so that they get confidence. For placement preparation, how and where to practice the programming language problem statements. Now, in the GATE papers, the scope is very limited. Limited in the sense, the pattern of the question is very limited. For example, they will give the program and they will ask the output, or what is the behavior of the function or the program, what this program does, is there any error, such kind of questions are asked. But really for the placement preparation, we need to go one step beyond that. And once your all basics and everything is clear, GATE preparation is done. You have solved all the previous question papers, remember, solve all the previous question papers, bits and bytes, and classroom questions which we take. After that, you go to these websites. I would suggest these two links, leetcode.com and codechef.com, where you can practice many programming language problem statements. And for the especially for the interview and the placement, I mean the written exams, many companies also take. So if you go to these two sources, platforms, you will find n number of problem statement and the questions. There you can practice. Try to write the program using C programming language only. Do not try any other such as Java, PHP, JS. So do not JavaScript. Instead of that, first, because they give the choice of in which language you have to submit the problem, I mean the code or the solution. So my suggestion is only go for the C programming as a first step. So on these two platforms you will find the number of topics for the programming language or the placement. I would suggest first general C programming, general programming problem statement, basic problem statement such as find the, suppose given an array, write a code, write the solution or write the code to find the maximum sum of any two elements from the array. This is one of the very basic or small question, I would say, easy question. So general topics you will find on the program, general problem statements on overall basics of the programming language. Then arrays, linked list, trees, and one of the very important is stack and queues. Stack and queues. At least, I am saying at least, you can also practice the string related questions also, string manipulation related or string based questions. I am saying out of these, at least do this, this and this, and of course the linked list also. Once you do this, your confidence will slowly increase. It is not one day job, guys. My friends, it is not one day job. It is not, you cannot learn all these things overnight, you see. Take a problem statement write the code for it, execute it. At the first day, you may take 1 hour, 2 hours to submit one program, but do on your own. 100% you should write on your own only without taking the help from the Google. Once you take the help from the Google, Google is not going to help you in the placement preparation or the interview, isn't it? So my suggestion is you spend as much time, because you have a lot of time, assuming you have a lot of time for preparation now. So from that angle I am saying spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to solve the first problem statement. Once you solve the first problem statement on your own, the second problem statement definitely you will take less time. Third problem statement you will take less time, and so on. But once you get that habit of writing on your own, that's very important here, without Google, without doing the Google search. Alright, take easy level problems. I am not saying you have to go to the hard level. Take easy, the levels are also given. Easy, intermediate, hard, difficult level. So select the easy level questions only and try solving it. Once you solve 20 questions from this, 20 questions from this and 20 questions from this, you yourself will observe your confidence has been boosted up, or your concepts are getting cleared and clear. Alright. So this is my suggestion. There are other platforms also, but as a first step, these two platforms are sufficient. Even the questions are being asked in Microsoft, Google, or Oracle, many product-based companies, you will find very Facebook, many questions are listed here. Of course, it is a subscription based. If it is a few fee, you can share among your friends, and you can try. You go for the subscription. I would suggest invest something in good. All right. So that's about the session, guys. I hope overall the strategy, whatever I have explained you, is helpful to you. Go through this video once again if you want to. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at this email ID. All right. Thank you. So let me see if any questions in the comment. So one of the student, Soumya, is saying that should we first go for algorithm, then take C programming course? No, I have explained. First C, then data structure, and then only algorithm. All right. I hope this was. Okay. So I am getting one comment that in our classroom first DS and algo is done, but do not worry, guys. I am saying do not worry. If the PL is done later, I am saying that do it again as a fresh at home. Okay. So once you learn the programming language, then the data structure and algorithm notes you revise again. Do not skip. You revise in such a way that you are learning first time. That's what I can suggest. Because every time in the, there is a scheduling pattern, every time it may not be possible for the management, but stick to this. You can revise as you are learning the first time. I'm saying that. So that would again help you to balance the concept. I mean, to get more understanding of the concepts. Okay, I hope Abhijit Kumar, I have answered your question. After C and DS are taught in the order, but it is not big loss for you. I am saying, see what I have told you, the overall strategy. Now there can be little modification in that as per our schedule. All right. So do not think that I have not done the PL, so DS and algo I will not understand. It is not like that. whatever is required for the DS, that would be taken in that class only. Alright. But I am saying that after learning PL, you again touch base on the DS and algo and then solve the questions from these platforms. Okay. So once you learn all these three subjects in some sequence, then go for the practice. Otherwise, directly don't go for the practice. Alright. So I hope I have answered to some extent. Alright guys, then I conclude this session here. Feel free to send an email as I said and your questions in the comment box or reach out to us. Thank you very much.